Entering the Bat Mayo Experience.
Bat Mayo Experience. Bat Mayo Experience. Bat Mayo Experience. Experience.
I was racking my brain the other day, and I think it was in 2010. It was right when I first started my blog. No, maybe it was 2009. Remember that Colts-Patriots game when Belichick went for it?
Yep, it was 2009.
Pagano went for it.
No, Pagano. No, Belichick went for it 4th and 2, threw it to Kevin Falk behind the line of scrimmage, and he didn't get the first down. If he got the first down, he wins the game. Think about the discourse behind that play then and how completely the opposite it would be today. Be like, oh yeah, he should have went for it. Of course he should have. Like, he was way ahead of the curve on that one. And at the time, he was like, I can't believe he went for it. And all they needed was the 2 yards to win the game, and that was it. It was a Patriots-Colts game.
I'm remembering also something. Did Pagano do like something insane on his side of the field going for it, and they threw to like?
No, they did the thing. Didn't the Colts run like
a fake field goal where they had only one man on the line of scrimmage, like by the kicker, and the Patriots had 3 guys standing there, and he snapped it anyway.
Okay, yes, sorry. But
I remember Collins were saying, I don't know what that even supposed to be. Yeah. That's a disgrace.
Well, remember when Miami ran that weird like 2-point conversion fake punt field goal play that worked, but it got called back because of penalty earlier this year? That was a great play.
The Rams 2-point play was the best 2-point play I've ever seen.
And they stole that from the Dolphins.
Yeah, it was the pitch end or the pitch reverse.
And
right?
It was the broadcast even said that Sean Payton told them he was stealing that Bears trick play that Winston threw a touchdown on.
I mean, they can say all of that. It makes them seem smarter if they say that.
Okay, fair enough.
If you take away our ability to steal other people's ideas, where are they going to come from?
I guess so. Who has the Super Bowl this year? Not that it matters.
CBS.
Although
the
fact that I'm alone without friends, I'll hear it.
This is supposed to be NBC's year, but they switched out and gave it to CBS.
Yeah, they did the whole trade.
Because NBC wants to have the Super Bowl leading into the Olympics and CBS doesn't want the Super Bowl going up against the Winter Olympics. So,
really?
No, it's a gentleman's thing. You don't put up.
Do they ever overlap?
No, they wouldn't even overlap.
They would. They would this time.
You think that NBC wants it at the same time as NBC's?
No, but it's because it's in Beijing, it'll be on during the afternoon. But NBC wanted their Super Bowl in the evening, and then be able to like lead into Olympic stuff afterwards. Whereas CBS doesn't want to have. The Super Bowl.
Okay. I would think that it is NBC,
which is why they made the trade.
Wants to use the Super Bowl to get the Olympics ratings because the Olympics don't do that great, especially the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, but NBC actually does pretty decent ratings with it. Anyway, that's why they made
not fucking Super Bowl ratings.
No, nothing does Super Bowl ratings. But anyway, that's why they did the switch. Because that Sunday is an Olympics Sunday as well.
So we're getting Romo and Nance again this year?
We are.
Cool.
Like I said, they switched off this one year.
I was talking to Paul about this actually right before Jeff showed up and we started recording the show about how Nance, Romo, like they're doing the Bills-Chiefs game this year, obviously, the CBS game for the AFC, that a lot of people make so much about the broadcast teams. What percentage of people do you think watch these games with no commentators? Because I don't. Like, I have no real opinions on like the broadcast teams at all.
Oh, I think most people listen to it with the sound.
I'm pretty intrigued by it. I like it. I'm hyper aware of the teams.
Particularly now when no one's at a sports bar watching games. Maybe that may be true last year.
But I'm hyper aware of the assignments, to be perfectly honest.
I am too. But I'm a weirdo.
Mainly it's because on a Wednesday,
but do you have opinions about these crews? Like concrete opinions, like, oh, this guy is really good, or just
if I get Mark Schlereth or James Lofton, I fucking hate my day.
James Lofton's
as I said before, I like getting like the low, like your Spiro Ditas, Archuleta crews. Like they do so. Yeah, I like those guys. Like I like the D teams way more than the B teams. The B teams are the worst, in my opinion, on these broadcast crews. Now, I only look for the assignments because I just want to know who I'm going to listen to calling the Charger game. And in doing that, I read the list of who's doing other games. I get from your perspective, not giving a shit, so never loading up that webpage that has the assignment list.
Like usually, like if I'm out watching it,
I also look at ref assignments. I'm a weirdo. I need to know where like Jerome Booger is.
No, I just have all of the games on in front of me.
We got a girl. We got the first female official for the Super Bowl, or not head ref, but They're replacing one of the dads.
One of the dads?
The dads who I always make fun of. The dad that spotted that Henny run deserves the Spot of the Year award. I don't know how the dads spot balls run by professional athletes trying to guess where the ball is, where their knee is down. But that Henny spot on that run, that was a Spot of the Year.
It was dead on.
It was a Spot of the Year.
Whereas I'm of the opinion when the punt goes out of bounds, the ref is just guessing as to where it crossed.
I kind of agree too.
I don't understand.
And they're being waved by the sideline.
They're just
Underlay.
I guess why, if you can do the tennis replay in less than 10 seconds, why can't, at least for the out of bounds on a football field, can that be tracked? Like, why is that so hard?
It's only funny to me because NFL, well, old NFL, now like it's passing a new age. But even before us, I started watching football in the era of like inches matter. Like every inch matters. And here the refs are like literally mindlessly distributing free inches, feet everywhere, all game. Free. Sadaka. You just hope you're on the right side of it.
Tim, would you be opposed to putting a microchip in the ball?
I mean, I think in principle it makes sense, but I would be against it because I think it's kind of neat and quirky the way they do it now. And
So you would prefer it not be accurate, is what you're saying?
Yeah, but it's the way, it's been that way for the whole history of the game, and I don't see a reason to change it. Like, I think it's neat
Because you
have, like,
you
weird
actually could
anachronisms.
change it now. I wouldn't want it if it meant the amount of time they spend on fucking review now, because that is ridiculous. But if it is something that could be like bang bang, like, oh, here it went out at the 36.5 yard line. That's where the punt actually traveled over the out of bounds. Like, wouldn't that be much better than just some guy being like, yeah, I think it's right here?
I guess.
Or this is a touchdown. It went over the goal line.
The argument
Yeah,
of
that's much
that's
though.
how they didn't used to do it that way. It's so ridiculous for literally everything. Like people
Well, no,
used to
that's
people
not
used
true.
to show up to war with a bow and arrow. There's a reason why technology improves and they show up with whatever they've got now.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
I've said
no
to
one
Tim many
disputes that.
times.
technology
There is-
changes, your abilities change. Like
No,
get
Tim
with
wants
the times,
World War
DC.
III to be fought like the Norman invasion of 1066, bow and arrow.
Turn
only.
off your heat and go just sleep beside a fire, pal.
Tim's
Well, yeah,
Tim can't start a fire. Are you
obviously.
kidding me?
You need to have a dental
Yeah, I have to find the
appointment.
lightning.
Why don't
Remember
you
we
just do
discussed
it
that on
without having your teeth frozen? Why don't they just rub pure cocaine on your gums? That's how they used to
Well,
do
no,
it.
exact. Well, of course, but that's the dumb argument against.
What's it? Why?
You just made the dumb argument.
You're making the dumb argument here. Like,
No,
I
no,
think it's
it's actually
quirky that
quite-
they're not right ever.
Well, there's actually something to be said.
It's charming.
for-
We're
I don't
always
want to
wrong.
use the MRI machine. I think the doctors just be like, yeah,
No,
you got the
but
mumps.
listen, this is pro football. This is not an MRI. Like, that's actually a really dumb.
It's
and
not, because
very
you're
well-
just using
Like,
technology
there's
to
actually a
improve
very
what you're
good
doing.
counter to my argument.
Then
But
make
none
it-
of you have actually provided.
We've provided all. Let's make it more accurate because we can, and it's not changing anything. The only thing it changes
Well,
is
again-
the accuracy.
There is something to be said though for the charm of it.
Yeah, there's something
Like,
to
I'm
be
sorry.
said about the charm of not being right. That's great, Tim. Thanks.
Honestly, I'm not that bothered by it because in the long run, it all works itself out.
It
get as
doesn't.
many
That
calls
is
as
actually
associations
not
as
true.
calls
That's what
for
that's. It doesn't. No, it doesn't all work itself out in the
And
long run.
oftentimes, the cure is worse than the disease. I would
But
say
like coaches are probably
pretty
fired.
stoutly
Like people's
that-
jobs
that-
are on the
Look
line.
at
the
the Ray
challenge
Rice spot.
system that the NFL has is in a lot of ways worse than when we didn't have challenges. The challenge system has not improved the game. I think it's actually been better for football than any other sport. There are some sports where like it's really bad.
I would say
but it's
tennis
still
has
not
the best
good for
replay
football.
system.
Tennis does have the fair enough. I meant of the organized pro.
And what I'm
Yeah.
talking about with this particular idea would mimic exactly what tennis does.
Well, except that in tennis, it's when the ball touches the turf. With this, you'd have to have like invisible lasers coming up.
Yeah,
to
not hard to do,
sense-
Tim.
Well, maybe
Not
it's
hard to do. I realize to you this sounds like the year 5000, but it's not. This is available to us right now.
I kind of don't feel like it needs to happen. And obviously the owners feel the same way. It's like, you know what? There is something romantic about first downs being marked off with chains and about you having to take a look at, you already have replay to review whether a ball crosses the goal line or not. And you pay referees to be on the field to make the call. And so be it. Like, not everything needs to be automated. I'm fine with it being a little bit, little looser. I think that it's sports after all. It's supposed to be fun. And
Wouldn't it be
so I'm
fun that if
perfectly
you
okay
scored a
with it.
touchdown, you actually scored it, or if you
You
didn't,
literally just said you were in like bed for months after a loss or something. What's fun
Well, yeah,
about?
but that's not the same thing, right? That's a category error. I was upset my team lost the game. I wasn't upset because they like a touchdown was called incorrectly. There was a hold that was missed, but that would never be reviewed anyway. That's just unfortunate that you just came up on the wrong side of the rules. No, I mean, I think there's actually a very profound, very like small c conservative argument to be made here that what the NFL has works. It's the most popular sport in North America. And I, like a Swiss watch, things sort of work in a particular way. When you start monkeying with one thing, you don't know what the after effects are going to be. And we have seen changes that got made when you're like, for example, there are lots of examples you can think of where after you make the change, you're like, oh, that was a disaster.
Sure.
We shouldn't have done that.
and you try it out, and if it doesn't work, you can switch it back. It's not that big of a deal. But you're the same guy in 1951 being like, there will never be a sport bigger than horse racing and boxing. Let's never change
No,
it.
that's not.
Tim
that's
still
not the
takes
same
his
thing
horse
at
to
all.
work.
Tim
right?
still thinks that
That's not
baseball
the
is
same
super
thing.
popular. It's not.
Tim, you still
Well, it
ride
still
your horse
does
to
quite
work?
well.
It doesn't
Are you-
really do all that well. It's fallen behind basketball, which would have
Sure, but it's still the third most popular.
That's great. It was the most popular sport. Then it was the second
yeah,
most
sure.
popular
No
sport.
one
Now it's the
disputes
third most
that.
popular sport. And again, to talk to you, you'd be like, you should never change anything about baseball. People love it. And you just said
I'm not
the
so
NFL
sure
is
that
the
some of the
most
recent
popular.
changes
I think that the NFL
helped
is the
it.
most popular sport. They must be doing something right. Let's never change it. If the NFL stays the same as it is today, it will no longer be the most popular sport in 15 or 20 years. You need to continuously adapt, and football has always done the best job of that. And
Always.
that's why they're going to eventually start tinkering around with all that stuff. So you better fucking get used to it.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with tinkering, but there is a particular, you see this online more with people who are incredibly online, who think that the whole purpose of life is to create change and create progress from what's there, and that there's no gratitude for the present and no gratitude for what they, and so that's just the way they're hardwired in terms of their political views, and therefore they translate it into sports. And that's fine. Everyone's welcome to that. But I don't share that perspective.
Well, Tim, we know
have a-
you don't like the color
mine is
barrier
more
having
of a-
been broken. We know
mine
that.
is
We've,
more of a
we've litigated
philosophy
that
of the-
before.
No, but see, again, that's like to be.
Why change anything?
incredibly-
I liked everything
to be
exactly how it
incredibly
was.
to be incredibly erudite, this is the distinction Edmund Burke makes between the French and American Revolution, and that one was good because it was for the purposes of actual people being able to enjoy their rights as citizens and as free people, and another was a disaster because it was the upending of all tradition and upending of liberty for the sake of disaster. Like that's terribly elitist. I don't know how many people are going to get that reference. That's kind of where I'm working from, is that type of distinction. And so you want to be very careful when you make changes. Not every change should just be automatic. There's far too many people, I guess that's where I'm getting at, that are their knee flex reaction is to say, good, let's change it for something. Let's just change it. Let's try something new. Well, that is not how human beings actually function in the real world. It's not the way we're biologically constructed to be. And it is not how successful organizations or groups thrive. They thrive through cautious, deliberate, slow change, not through rapid change. That runs counter to human biology.
I would actually completely counter that by saying
Well, but the science is
okay, thanks, Tim.
indisputable.
Just shut up for a second. Here's
Science
the
is
thing.
indisputable.
Here's the thing. Institutions can get away with that because they have built-in infrastructure and capital and a longevity of being successful that they don't necessarily need to change a ton to retain the certain level that they're at. Any new innovation is not done by those places. They are done by upstarts with new ideas, and that progression that you're talking about that you're so afraid of, they're the people coming in right now and changing everything, and everything that
I'm
we
not
look at in
afraid of
20 years is going to be from these people that are creating these new innovations. Because these other places, they have no reason to really innovate because they're just doing what they do. It's the new up-and-coming ideas that will always change everything and bring those older corporations and older institutions along with them, because eventually they'll just be the last ones to catch up, and then they'll be exactly where everyone else is. Then new places will come in, and that's what football is going to end up doing, especially with this technology.
Or it has the opposite effect where they get consumed by those older institutions and they actually become hidebound very quickly. I mean, Facebook, Twitter, they're prime examples of that. That they have become, or Amazon or Google have been subsumed by the sorts of monsters they didn't wish to be.
No, but they
so it can actually work both
completely
ways.
changed the entire game by being the upstart.
No, I agree. They changed the game in terms of the medium. I mean, they didn't actually change the concept of like connectivity. People still always wanted to connect to each other. I mean,
Ask newspapers how it's going.
I mean, I feel like
The New York Times has never been
gotta
better.
be-
Things
Amazon's
have
got to be
never been
pretty
better.
happy about how things are going right now.
sure, but you just said newspapers. The New York Times and the Washington Post
I was
have
saying
never
Amazon.
had better years.
So you're talking
killing-
about two mediums that basically don't print newspapers anymore, do all their sales digitally, and they're the only two newspapers basically left standing because they had that infrastructure where they could take hit after hit after hit until they figured it out. All the other newspapers went away.
Well, no, there are still several newspapers.
Would you say there's as many newspapers today, Tim, as there was 15 years ago?
Absolutely not.
Is there 5%
But-
of them left?
Yeah, but things transmogrify in ways that you can't predict. Right? Netflix is basically NBC. Like things that are not supposed to be networks become like my whole point is that sometimes this new innovation becomes the very thing that they think they're not being, because there's something innate in who we are or how we live as a society that sort of like captures them. That's just how it is. And so
Oh.
you should be aware of that. I mean, we remember we took a course together about how real
they're still
change
going
is
to
not
call
actually possible.
out of bounds. We just want it to be accurate, and you can do that with technology.
Yeah, but again, that's because yes, that's right. But how accurate do you really want to be?
I want it to be
Like,
the
look
most
at
accurate
baseball.
it can be, Tim. I'm betting on
Baseball
this
is,
stuff.
but see, actually, you don't, right? When you
I
look
do
at
know,
baseball,
I do.
How many double plays that have been double plays for 150 years now don't get called double plays anymore because something you can't see in live time, but you do see at 1/1000th speed that the ball was out of the second baseman's hand or the shortstop's hand for a half second, or he was off the base, but you couldn't have seen that in live time. You can only see it in replay. Has that been good for the game? No.
I'm not talking.
argument
I'm not.
of, I
I'm
just
not
want the
talking
accurate
about
result.
going to replay with this. I'm talking about putting a chip in something. Like, hey, if you have, let's say you have something in the same tennis technology, you have those in the bases, so you know if someone has stepped on the base or not stepped on the base by the time it's there. You would know right away. You'd know in real time.
Yeah, maybe. Or this could be the thin end of the wedge.
Tim doesn't
we-
even like seeing a shot tracer in golf. He
I
just
don't
wants
like
the
it,
camera
no.
to just randomly just
shoot around.
oh, there it is, lying in a patch or perfect or in a divot or
That's
wherever.
my aesthetic preference. I agree, but I think these are all.
But
just
if I've
aesthetic
spent
preferences.
multiple days watching an event and now understand the layout of a hole, I really appreciate seeing the track.
and that's great.
Here's
I
how
actually
these
don't
guys
think your
are
way is
attacking it.
wrong.
Pardon?
I actually
Here's
don't
how
think
these
your way
guys
is
are
wrong.
attacking the different holes.
Yeah,
but it's even to him to bring up like
I think these are all
Netflix
just
and
subjective
everything that's going
pre-
around. Yes, it's technically a network, but they changed the entire process
Yeah.
of how you consume all this media, and all of the other places had to replicate their model in order to catch up.
Correct, but in 6 years' time, all these
Yeah, they're
you
a
know,
beast now. They are
Or-
NB. I think that's a
they
fair
have
comp
become-
to say they have become like the networks.
Yeah,
Like now they make their
have
own
become
shows.
the thing
like,
they replaced.
I don't think that's an unfair.
except they
changed the game. They changed how it was done. They were the driving force.
sure.
they sold their product directly to you, and that's what we've seen basically over the past 20 years. Is the middleman has been cut out of most of this stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
it's
true.
funny. It's on
It's
my
unfortunate, but-
it's on my notes as it pertains to my new head coach. The cutting edge.
The 1987 figure skating movie.
1992. I enjoyed that one, actually. That sports romance comedy that I think my mom must have rented. But I saw it a few times. But it works perfectly for how many would explain the Chargers coaching hire. Cutting edge.
Cutting edge. Okay.
So, I don't know. It goes both ways.
We didn't even talk about that. We should probably talk about that right now.
I don't know. Give Tim the floor.
So Tim, have you learned how to pronounce your coach's last name yet?
Have they had a presser?
Yeah, well, I know they just officially signed Sala today. Like he was like signing the documents. The Twitter photo came out. So I think the presser's probably not tomorrow, given that tomorrow's inauguration day. I imagine they'll probably wait till Thursday to do the presser. But anyway, I'm excited. I mean, I said on last week that Sala was one of the couple of guys I was really interested in. Comes very highly recommended. He seems like a leader of men. He's young. He's energetic. I think he's going to fit well in New York. I'm excited. We'll see. I mean, great coaches sometimes, or people you think on paper are going to be great coaches, turn out not to be great. But this is the most exciting coach the Jets have hired since I've started following football, because when I started being a Jets fan, Parcells was already their coach, so I didn't like have the excitement of them hiring him. So this is the most exciting hire for me, and the Jets have thrived in the past under defensive coaches. I mean, even though Todd Bowles wasn't a great coach, the Jets went 10-6 and almost made the playoffs with him. They made 2 championship games with Rex Ryan. They got to a championship game with Parcells. We tend to thrive better with these kind of coaches. That could just be happenstance, and it probably is, but I'm feeling okay with it. And I like that we're bringing Shanahan's offensive coordinator, Shanahan's passing coordinator, LaFleur, over to be the OC. I mean, I think he was spinning straw into gold in San Francisco the last couple of years, given what they have to work with now.
Kyle Shanahan.
Well, I was just about to say, I'm sure a lot of that is Kyle Shanahan, but I'm sure he learned a ton from Kyle Shanahan and from his brother, for that matter, who's a marvelous play caller. So there's reasons to be hopeful. I mean, nothing's guaranteed. Who the heck knows if it'll work or not? But I'm optimistic that this seems like a competent hire by a competent GM, which we have not had in a very long time. So I feel good about it.
Right after the signing, we saw Richard Sherman, give his endorsement of it as well. And we got a group text from Tim that just said, "I want Dick." That's what he calls.
No,
Richard
I
Sherman.
said I want Dick Sherm is what I said, and I do want Richard Sherman on the team. I think he'd be a great sort of leader. Yeah,
It's
you'd have
good.
to
I
probably
think
play.
you want to bring a guy. It makes total sense. You bring a guy who can help lead a system install on the field. So if there's a
Yeah, he
leader,
can't play corner anymore.
if there's a
we saw that
leader
last year in the
in
Super
San Fran that's a free agent on the defense, I think connecting him to the Jets is an easy dot.
By the way, Richard Sherman on the Jets is the best corner they have starting next year. Like this moment, he is by far the best corner they have.
By the way, I think the Jets hired a great coach for them and for what they needed. I'm happy Tim seems happy. I think it's easy for both me and Tim to say as we were going through the process. But I was, outside of Jason Garrett, I was thoroughly impressed with everybody whom I saw the Chargers talking to.
Well, you have to be, because if you say a bad word about them, then they become the coach.
I guess I didn't think about it like in like
You were
a
even
Tim perspective.
You were even pro Ellen DeGeneres when he got hired. You gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, I'll give him dude, we've never gotten this right, like since Marty, who we freaking canned. And I am ready. I am like, if you have a bad piece on my coach, you send it to me. I want to take it in. I want to take it all in.
Then you'll block that person on Twitter. I saw your wife got someone unblocked this week.
Yeah, she did. She did. No, I think that guy I blocked was just a joke. He's unblocked. But don't send me Nate Kading missing kicks in a playoff game.
I don't
Like,
know.
I don't need it. That's just like a mean
I kind
spirit.
of enjoyed it.
Yeah, I get it. That's just mean spirited.
Do you like the new Chargers coach because he may or may not watch this show? Might be a fan.
No, he isn't a fan, but a relative's a fan, and I sleuthed to make sure I wasn't being pranked. And they look like their dads are brothers.
So shout out to him.
Shout out to him. And listen, it's great to know that maybe at Thanksgiving I can have a question or two answered. If I had one question today, Pat, I want to know the simple things. Like, when we travel, do we need to wear suits or can they travel leisurely? These are like the little things I am curious to know.
What would you prefer?
Leisure.
Tim, what would you prefer?
Sweats on a plane, bro.
The Jets need order and discipline. I want that team showing up suit and tie.
You
like
do
Nick
not-
Saban has Alabama
Oh.
wear suit and ties.
You're gonna lose it. That's not gonna work.
No, it's one thing to
It
do it.
can work.
It's one thing to do it to people, and that's the biggest thing with Saban too. And we've seen this happen to a very high-profile college coach is making the jump, coaching kids one way, university kids, versus coaching adults who are professionals getting paid millions of dollars, and telling them to do certain things might go a little bit differently.
Well, it depends how you tell them to do it. Like, I'm sure Pete Carroll had no bones about telling guys in Seattle what to do, but had the right affect to do it.
Pete Carroll's a very special personality when it comes down to that, though. That's how he's been able to. We all know his coaching acumen, not the best, but he's a great motivator of people, and he seems like a super good guy that everyone likes.
Yeah. But yeah.
And he lets people compete too. He's not like a discipline type guy. He's just a high competition guy. Like in practice, you're going to compete. And these are professional fucking athletes. They love competing.
But you're right. It's like this cycle where like no one's really saying bad things The only bad things, I guess, that are kind of being said are unfair to the coach. It just is more to like, why is this guy getting a job and not like a minority?
Well, I mean, we could probably rewind the tape on this show of how many times Jeff has criticized McVay hires.
Yeah, friends of
Friends
McVay.
of McVay. And I told you, we didn't even get one of the cute ones, Tim.
I mean, it's different because he's a defensive guy, not an offensive
Oh, yeah.
guy.
Oh, but listen, yeah, we went to the Friends of McVay tree, which doesn't exactly have the greatest track record in modern football, despite...
Yeah, basically you went to the party and all of McVay's friends were there, but you got there late and the only person not shacked up yet was the dumpy friend in the corner.
All right, well, whatever, man. We got a slump bust right now.
Well, there you go.
So we're in.
My goodness.
And I'm excited. But I get there's like not a lot of negativity around hires. They sort of wait to suck and then the pariahs come out. But I'm seeing things from people I do like and whose opinions I care about. Use again words like cutting edge, innovative, brilliant.
But now, is that in general or compared to Anthony Lynn?
Either way, it's an upgrade, but you're right, because I thought about that. I'm excited to have a coach that knows the time. I'm excited to have a coach that can name the players. I'm excited to have a coach that even in a bad moment, Tim, can go to the podium a half hour later and remember the play that Daniel Popper is asking him about. Because I'll
have to get back to you on that, Jeff.
Pardon?
I have to watch the tape and get back to you on that.
Also, it's safe to assume my coach answered questions well in his interview.
You'd hope so.
Yeah, right, Tim? They asked him for...
Would assume. Although I really thought you guys were going to get Daboll, so I don't know what's going on there.
I think it's just they got caught in the playoffs so long that I don't think that he wanted to leave to go do interviews, and the Chargers wanted to hire get someone in the building right away. Like, that's the one downside to some of these guys. When you're an offensive coordinator on a team still in it, like Bieniemy's one thing because they won the Super Bowl last year, and eventually, even with Josh McDaniels, once you win so many, you can go interview. But I think with Daboll and the Bills, it was like, this is our focus right now. Like,
They could have
I
hired-
don't need anything else in my head.
I
They could
guess
have hired him anyway.
They could have hired anyone they wanted. And by all accounts, as it was talked about on NFL media last night, this was the guy. This wasn't like draft picks where you just say it's the guy because the other guy was taken. They wanted the other guy. The guy that was the flashy name out there that I wanted. Good thing I don't know anything. As I joked with Pat on our golf show, Tim, when we had the Lynn hiring cycle, my first choice was Patricia. I mean it. I was like, oh my God, this guy, that's the type of...
He's got these pencils and he tries to write over laminate.
That was the
laminate
guy.
on it.
And that's not... I'm not... Whoa. I don't want anyone to correlate me calling Daboll Patricia. Daboll's a man. Daboll should get a go to next offseason. Pick his spot. I think Buffalo will continue to be great. I'm not Tim. Tim's going to try to tell us that Josh Allen's completion percentage is going to regress 12 points when we record in June. This is a coup for Buffalo, but I don't think the Chargers didn't hire who they wanted to hire. Daboll wanted the Charger job by all accounts.
Paul?
This is a little off topic, but I've got a tweet from TC, the day that Gase was hired.
Okay. Gase has the best rookie QB talent of this class to work with. There will be no excuses for him. This team should be, by 2020, vying for a Super Bowl. He and the GM will not get 4 years to figure it out. That's actually pretty true.
That happened to the two other quarterbacks in the class.
Except-
are vying for the Super
Three.
Bowl.
Yeah. Baker, too.
So
Baker, Lamar, and Josh Allen.
So on the time frame, he's not wrong.
That first sentence was wrong. The best QB talent. That was the wrong part.
But I think a lot of the big thing, even go back to the summer shows, quarterbacks in year 3, Allen's liftoff is amazing and it's the best, and Baker's maturity is great to see, and it's unfortunate, Sam. But everyone who has a clue about how this thing works, it's no, don't worry. Lamar sort of tricked everyone. He got a year 2 amazing.
But Lamar also has a completely different style. And once teams start catching up to the style a little bit, or the defense gets a little bit worse and they can actually put up points and put you into a different situation. I thought Lamar improved so much between year 1 and year 2. And I credit Harbaugh really with a lot of that here's the game plan based on your skill sets right now. In year 2, it's a game plan that is not completely dissimilar to year 1, but it's more advanced. They just weren't that great this year. They beat... what we saw is they beat the shit out of really bad teams and lost against good teams.
But also, is it unfair to Lamar? He just improved so much from 1 to 2 that like the 1 to 3 improvement should be acknowledged.
yes,
respected.
but it's not.
It's not, because 2 to 3 wasn't
It was a downgrade.
was a down. What didn't have the same launch as 1 to 3. And I'll be honest, like, to steal Tim's tweet, I'm excited. I like my quarterback. I better see some good things next year. And in year 3 of my quarterback, I'll be excited. When we record all offseason and preview shows, I will be excited. And these bored beat writers are going to look at my healthy team on paper and they're going to make me excited. But in a year and a half from now, I want to be cataclysmic excited.
Tim, you remember at the beginning of the Spread Pick show, you said, will Cleveland be like the trendy Super Bowl pick next year? They will not be, because the Chargers exist.
But we still play in Mahomes'
I don't
division.
know.
So
You-
I don't
you
know
don't-
that people want to run to us.
I,
The Dolphins could be trendy. They
No.
get Mahomes,
Correct.
Watson, or they do something.
if they get Watson, yes, that would be a different case. But I just think that analytics love the Chargers anyway. They have for like the past 5 years.
yeah, with a court, yeah, they
You know
did
what I mean?
before.
And now analytics like Herbert. Herbert looks good. They're on paper getting their entire team back healthy, which we know is never going to happen by the time the season actually comes along.
I know.
But there's going to be a point in May where it's like, oh my God,
On paper,
everyone's healthy.
the
On
model,
paper,
yeah.
this team is the second best team to the Bills and Chiefs in the AFC.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, their odds are so great. Let's pick the Chargers to beat Kansas
Lynn
City.
is gone. They'll win the 2-point games. They'll make their field
Yeah,
goals
and then
next year.
Tim will jump on board and they'll go 3-13.
No, don't. Tim doesn't need us. He doesn't want us.
But everything that you said, if you go back and watch the early like preseason shows that we all did, Tim, the way that you talked about the Jets and the way that you talked about Darnold is actually what happened with the Bills.
100%.
Like
I agree.
to a T.
I agree. I agree.
Everything you said about Darnold actually happened to Allen.
I don't dispute a word of it. Not one word of it.
And we've
And I
talked
hate it.
about it many times over the year, Pat. Those two teams went 2 completely different ways in constructing their rosters.
Yes, the CJ Mosleys, the Le'Veon Bells, the flashy day one signings that all went to the Jets. The Bills pulled the Patriots. Let's wait till day 3 and sign
Beasley and
seen these-
6 guys.
Yeah, let's get some depth.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
overlooked guys who are cheap, and then we can fill in the rest.
Yeah. We get 10 for the same price as year 2.
At least maybe CJ Mosley will be fired up to play next year.
Yeah,
He's fresh off a whole year off. Maybe he won't even be good
Really too.
anymore.
Really too.
do we worry about the like? I don't know what the Patriots end up doing. Whether they go with Stidham, they draft a quarterback. I have no
They
idea
got
what
all
they're.
their COVID guys
Who-
back.
Yeah, they get all their
cares?
COVID guys from the defense back. Their defense should be a lot better next year.
Great. I
I'm
hope they
just-
lose every game.
I know you do, but now you're going to be triggered about the Bills if they make the Super Bowl.
That will not be. I'll be furious. I'll have to get myself involved if they get into the Super Bowl.
Wait, you'll pick them?
You can't fake
I don't know-
anything, though.
I don't know what I'll do.
You should have a lesson. You learned enough Brady Super Bowls, like how you need to play the Super Bowl angle when you want a desired outcome. Like you have enough experience in that now.
Stop being so jelly.
That's what it is, right?
It's a lot of jealousy.
I'm jealous too, but I'm happy. And Chiefs fans, 98% of them, they're so great. And like Bills,
Chiefs fans were not happy with Tim on Sunday after he tweeted out it's over.
And I was so annoyed by that too. It's like, you just won the Super Bowl. You don't get to complain at me. Well, what's wrong? Like, I'm sorry.
when the
Like,
best
it's
player
one
on the
thing if you
planet
guys-
dies, they're allowed
They
to.
just won the Super Bowl. There's nothing to get upset about. It'd be different if we were last year and they hadn't been to or won a Super Bowl in 50 years. I can
Listen.
understand but it's like, you know what? You guys won a Super Bowl. Relax. Your circumstance is so much better than mine.
They
Don't
know that,
yell at
Tim,
me.
but here's the problem. And as much as I think the Chiefs fans are amazing, I can't wait till the world is normal. I'm going to go to Arrowhead. I'm going to eat barbecue and respectfully enjoy a great football game. I cannot wait. To Tim's point, I think on what he is trying to get at is, and it's probably going to be a reality as much as it hurts me. They're like, if they don't win 3 Super Bowls, Chiefs fans are going to be like let down now. Like that's almost where it is.
Yeah, though it all plays to the expectations where the Chiefs fans have this expectations that they should have a dynasty with the team that they have, and they probably should.
And they will.
And if they,
yeah.
it'll be a lot like the early aughts, the early like, what do you call the tens? The teens? Are we calling it the teens?
I don't know.
Tim, what do you call that?
The 2010s.
We just call it the 2010s. That's what we're calling it.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I'll go with the teens. In the early teens, it felt like the Packers were going to win like 3 Super Bowls. They just didn't.
They didn't.
And now maybe they got their shot to go do it right now. But it will feel that way if like 5 years time we're looking back, the Chiefs have the one, and it's like, what the hell
But
happened?
it's kind of like a thing with majors. It's
I
like, Adam
completely
Scott's
agree.
about to win like 6 majors. It's
And it
like,
happens
we're
to
still
everyone.
here, and it's
And
like,
you-
and then maybe this year Adam Scott can be the Packers and get himself another major.
But once you know that,
Yeah.
and that's baked in, you're like, everything still needs to go our way. Like we need
Yes.
to win this back to back. We're here right now. We're gonna go to the AFC Championship game. Not everyone can be the Patriots. Although, I mean, every fan base is whining when things don't go their way. It happens. There's no one fan base where you look and be like, well, they didn't complain at all. They all fucking complain. They all fucking whine about it.
the Chiefs.
I don't know. The Jaguars literally had a Super Bowl appearance stolen from them by the league, and they did not whine and complain for months and months.
And
the
people
way I
thought they'd
would've
be
lost
right
my
back.
mind.
And
People
they
thought
never-
they'd be
Fair
right
enough.
back.
I did too. I
Well,
did
that's probably-
too.
that's
But
probably what
like
happened.
they had it stolen from them, and they didn't complain.
Doug Marrone was like a genius 3 years ago.
Now, do you know that people didn't complain from Jacksonville, or you just don't know any Jacksonville fans, so you just didn't hear it?
But even in the media, it wasn't like talked about much. I mean, because of course the Patriots are there.
are
so
there-
Are there a lot of like Jacksonville beat writers that you know?
The amazing thing
No,
about Tim,
there isn't.
The amazing thing about Tim, because he's a very bright guy, but he has yet to understand the concept that he literally tailors his feed to him, and then believes everything that's in his feed is how everybody feels.
And what everyone else is seeing.
Like, yeah, you don't have 50 Jaguar fans in your Menchies, or you don't follow their beat writers. So, like, I don't know. You don't know what's going on. I'm sure their Reddit went freaking nuts.
Yeah, the only time you've ever been on Jags Reddit was earlier last year when they were trying to get Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, were you on Jags
I
Reddit?
was. Yeah, I was. Anyway, I was behind enemy lines again.
Last thing before we get out of here. And you have the best grasp of this of anyone.
Uh-oh.
And even your grasp is not great on it.
Oh yes, I had this written down. Good.
So can you ask the question then, Tim?
Shit.
What was this electronic card buy-in thingy?
I don't have a clue.
What are they called?
Oh, that's helpful. We're gonna have
It's
a really
called-
good conversation.
It's
about
called
Top
Top
Shot.
Shot. It's like you buy what seems to like a card that's like you buy like a pack
You
of
buy a
gifts.
gift.
You buy like a pack of gifts or like a pack of cards, or you can individually buy a card. I don't know. I don't understand it. The guys involved seem
Card
to
of
be
what?
Of a moment?
a moment, like a moment. Yeah, it's weird. Like,
Like
it's
you-
like a sports card.
Like you could buy a Top Shot Mark Sanchez butt fumble.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, kind of. Except they don't have a thing with
the NFL?
With
So
the
these are like
NFL.
sports cards. for
sport card like
moments?
Bitcoin, kind of.
It's powered by blockchain somehow. It has every buzzword of how people spend money on the internet
Yeah.
involved with it.
And then-
the biggest thing is I saw Bales, shout out Jonathan Bales, shout out Pete Jennings and Levitan.
Levitan.
They all bought in on this like $35,000 Top Shot moment. And I don't know whether they know it's a good investment or not, but they're also like rich dudes who can just spend. I don't think like Bales is sweating $35K if he ends up losing it. Like he doesn't want to lose it,
No.
obviously.
Oh, don't get me wrong. It's not 35K. It's 35K 4 fucking ways.
Yeah, sure. But either way, it's still a lot of money.
No, and I'm not trying to besmirch money, but if those guys rostered Michael Thomas on Sunday, they probably had a tougher time than this Top Shot investment.
But as you've seen with a lot of these things, either it's worthless or it's worth way more than you paid for.
Now, I guess.
So if you want to
yeah.
buy, basically, if you bought 10 Top Shot type products, not all Top Shot, but Top Shot is one of them. And like, let's say
Yeah, ground floor.
Bitcoin 5 years
crypto
ago was
crap,
one of them,
A
or-
piece of digital art.
lithium coin is one of them, or Ether coin, or Crypto
Oh,
Kitties,
the
or,
Litecoin. Yeah, I
or-
remember
or-
the Litecoin.
or whatever it is. You buy 10 of them. If one of them hits, it's going to cover your investment 10 times for all of them. So
Yeah, I get it.
this doesn't make any sense to me, and maybe it's because I don't understand.
I'm still
To me,
kinda
these guys are
grappling
like
with
a
what it means.
network that it's like buying like a network that buys 80 pilots, and three of them make it to air. One of them becomes a hit.
Yeah, one of them
Whatever
CSI
they-
and pays for
Yeah,
everything
whatever
times
they pay
20.
to try to buy the rights to that sucked, it all comes back tenfold. I don't know, man.
It's just people. It's Bales in particular because Bales invested in this. Bales is widely known as basically like the sharpest guy around in the gambling space, in the DFS space. That
He's
if he
like
d-
the Brandon Staley of these guys, right? Cutting edge.
except he's proven.
I have joked, but you're absolutely right.
But
He's on
if
the,
he does
yeah,
something, people are like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'll do
yeah.
it too."
You're
Like,
self-aware enough to know Bales is smarter
Yeah,
than you.
he's a
so
smart
go
guy.
read up on what he's saying.
But even just like reading his blog and reading his newsletter, like he never claims to be right about everything either. He's like, these are
It's totally
everything,
speculative.
Everything is a risk.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe I'll get him on to talk about this stuff. I just find it really confusing.
Well,
like, why would this
Well,
actually be worth
if I
anything?
can't describe what it is, I would have trouble investing in something that I
Yeah, but
can't describe to myself what it is I just bought in some way.
Well, in fairness, Tim, do you have any investments?
No.
So you're
Listen,
not.
I
You're
got-
not in the place where you feel real comfortable investing in anything.
Now, I want to just say I got really confused about it. I've tried to sort of understand it. It's not that I am stubborn. I don't think I'm kind of either. Like, I just don't think I'm smart enough. But I'm self-aware enough to know the guys that are doing it are incredibly smart. It just seems like I thought. Oh, like for an instant, Pat, I thought like, oh, you own the clip. Like you own this official trademark thing.
And if
That,
Sports
like,
Center
that
wants
would be
to,
one thing,
yeah,
I
if Sports
understand
Center
that.
wants to use
Yeah.
it, they have to lease
And
it
if
from
they
you,
make
but it's
like
not.
like a LeBron movie, like Universal Pictures, and they want to use like a highlight reel, like they got to come get my permission. Like for a moment, that's what I thought this is. That's 100% not what it is. You pretty much just own a GIF. But maybe it's fine.
But what do you do with that GIF?
I don't know.
How does
You-
that GIF become valuable?
You just own it. It's like
just-
a picture.
It's valuable
It's like a
and
painting.
it's just easily tradable. It's easily liquid. Like it's easily transferable, which is there's a market
right, but
for
where
it.
does its value come from? Like what actually infuses
That it's
value?
limited. That it's a special one.
Paul's going to expand on this because I think he has a better grasp of it.
I
Paul.
think the selling feature for it is as a digital asset with the history and the blockchain, the information on the blockchain sitting there. It's much easier than like other cards and things like that to prove authenticity.
and you can't damage them.
No.
And then grading. Grading's this kind of
The
scheme.
grading.
and
How,
the-
but
Well, I
I
guess
don't
the
understand how
grading
they
would
can
all
have
be
different
perfect,
grades. They're
wouldn't
fucking
it?
gifts, aren't they?
It's all digital.
no, they're
it's all
saying it
soft.
can't be graded. Like a card,
Oh,
like
yeah.
a card's
Like, yeah,
value
it's a
is
10 out of
totally
10.
subjective to grade. Everything's a 10 out of 10. The counterfeit aspect. I get it. He compared it to like.
Can I buy a top shot of the Tim Andercuss gift?
No, but I guess one thing that kind of made sense to me was he compared it to like digital things like have a value. Like my nephew buys like a special sword in Fortnite. That's like I get that literally has a value that he can then trade or I don't have a freaking clue.
Well, I guess.
But
the
they
whole-
also compare it to like Tim, there's this whole like digital art industry. Like,
that makes sense to me though. Digital art industry, 'cause
but
you-
then it's the same thing though.
But
But
yeah,
it wasn't Bales like saying like why is it different?
because with a digital like piece of art, you can still like would have people would have to come to you if they wanted to repurpose it or print it out or anything like that,
But
right?
can I not just hang a Mona Lisa in my house? I mean, I'm not comparing it, but it's like, I don't know. I guess any sports card I want, I could print a picture of it and put it in like a case. Like I have this sports card, but I don't because it's just a Hilroy paper that I printed on.
Yeah, I'm not even against it. I
Yeah,
just
me
don't
neither.
understand it.
Me neither. I will say though, Pat and me like asking why people were so upset because I was just like, these guys that like a bad slate means more. Like who cares? And then I got inundated with replies explaining to me how like this could just, and I don't know anything, but I'm saying that the people that are sort of anti it are saying that like Bales and these guys like have a responsibility, that maybe they're not like full disclosure, like they're pumping it out.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that
Like
because
their influence controls this market.
Agreed, and
But isn't that part of it?
yeah, because it's exactly what you said about like the Fortnite sword. If people aren't playing Fortnite and Fortnite isn't popular, the sword is fucking worthless.
Yes.
So you need to create. It's the same thing around sports cards right now. Sports cards are hot right now. People are buying them, and the more that people buy them and try to get into the market, the rarer ones are going to be worth tons of money, like we saw with the last sports card boom.
Yeah.
That once they start making more and more and more and more people get into it, the people that buy a sports card a year and a half from now, those cards are not going to be worth anything unless there's like 3 of the card that
Yeah.
you end up
Or
getting.
even-
With this, you
This
need-
is exactly what caused the 1929 Great Depression, by the way. Was this exact thing where people were trying to boost up certain stocks and buying them in syndicate at $8, so they could get other people buying it at 12, and then short sell.
That's what
and then
people have written
were,
to me.
Were
But-
then
but isn't that
borrowing
exactly-
on spec to buy more. But eventually, it crashed for everybody.
But a
And
couple of
everybody-
these entities, like you said, you
just
buy
saying it's
into
incredibly
10.
risky.
Yeah,
Sure,
but that's
one
a part of it, though.
Something's going to hit. A
But
couple
like-
of these
like
entities are going
incredibly
to
risky.
blast off.
Agreed.
A couple of them are going to blast
Maybe.
off. I don't have a clue. There are people that are doing good research. Like, what happens if Top Shot or the parent company of Top Shot, their like licensing agreement with like the NBA ends?
Yeah.
Do I still own this car? Does it just like disappear? And people told me they don't have an answer. I'm not hard on like Bales and Leviton and them saying we did it. Like, is that promoted? Like, they did it. So they bought something and they're telling the world. Like, yes, they have followers, but they're saying if you don't have money, don't
Yeah,
do
they,
it.
they could also do whatever the fuck they want with their own money.
Yeah,
Their
And it's
money.
Twitter, and no matter how big your following is on Twitter, nobody really follows you on Twitter, right? Like Twitter is like
People, what do you mean? People
15% of
follow.
have Twitter. Like 15% of the world of North Americans have Twitter. Like Twitter's actually not that important anyway.
But
no,
even though
but
we think it is,
but
we
no.
all hive
In
mind.
terms, I would.
But do they
I-
ever
hold on? Hold on. I would agree and disagree. Yes, the general public is one thing, but if you look at something like Bitcoin, for example, that was highly talked about on something like Twitter. Everyone
Sure,
on
those
Twitter-
people are incredibly online.
Sure, but all those people were the ones that bought it up, and by the time like my grandfather heard what Bitcoin was, it was worth fucking $40,000.
Yeah, exactly.
sure.
So eventually, if stuff gets big enough, it emanates in this one space as a little tiny seed, and like you said, and then in the amphitheater of Twitter, it gets bigger.
And then
it
it's all of a
gets
sudden
bigger,
it's on,
it
like,
gets bigger,
MSNBC.
and then like
Forbes.
networks pick it up,
Yeah.
stuff that Tim watches and like my parents watch.
And then you see like, oh, respected investor buys Top Shot, and then like everyone like, oh my god, this
Yeah.
guy.
The
like,
moment you hear that, you probably don't want to buy it anymore.
No,
Sure.
like I said, that's literally what caused the Great Depression.
but
Is that type of investing.
I don't know.
But I
People
think
are whole putting that these guys have a responsibility as influencers. I don't know what does that mean? Like,
I mean, if they were being dishonest, that's one thing. Like if you're a tout and you're selling your picks just so that people will all bet that pick so you can bet the opposite of that pick, that's unethical.
yeah, I think that would be
That's
unethical. That's
irresponsible.
also not what's going on
someone
here.
like who, like, because I
Agreed.
am in like the card
Agreed.
thing,
That's
and
not
like
what's going on.
as I've said to you, or we've even joked, like Prism is like the hottest brand, the best brand, the most liquid brand, the brand that seems to be the most.
Prism, very good cards.
There's people that cover
The
it.
best
And now
cards.
there's like this consortium of very trusted people who are influencers in the card community trying to be hyper speculative on like what the
Card
next
community.
on what the next Prism will be. Like sort of I want the hot brand before it's like hot. And
It would be like knowing that TikTok was going to blow
Sure.
up versus the other 10
Yeah,
social
but
media
he's
platforms that no
literally
one ever
sitting-
joined.
but he's
what was
literally
it, Quibi? What was
also-
that other thing? Quibi that everybody bought into?
That was like a TV network.
yeah, and we can get to that. But my point being is people compared it to me because I watched this video. Is like, yeah, Select is going to be the next big brand. Like it's going to be huge. You guys trust me on this. Oh, by the way, I'm sitting on cases and cases of Select for when like you
Well-
guys buy it. Like
Well, I think Al actually tweeted out something about this. Like, you should say if you're being paid or not. Like, even you'll see, like, on the YouTube videos now, if you're watching this on YouTube, at the bottom of the screen when you first click on it, you'll see that this particular video, has paid sponsorship. You know, DraftKings sponsors this show. I talk about DraftKings. Now, I like DraftKings. I play on DraftKings.
you're also in,
but I'm also in business with DraftKings
and
too.
you invest in DraftKings. Should I not have said that?
Although we also
do you mean?
talk about companies on this
Yeah,
show
stock.
who don't invest in
But yeah, but
Yeah.
anyone can have stock in DraftKings. You can
No,
just go
but
buy
I'm
the
like-
stock. Yeah.
Of course, but I'm saying
DraftKings is probably like the 6th most talked about company on this show in the run of a week anyway.
Yeah, like we put it this way: Diet Coke does not pay.
Yeah,
for a paid
Nordic
sponsor.
McDonald's.
These play, yeah.
But at the
We
same
went on
time,
a whole stretch a couple weeks ago where we talked about Burger King for like 15 minutes to start a show.
but at the same time, if there is something disingenuous about you saying, Jeff Feinberg, hey, don't worry about Prisms, buy Selects, and Selects is paying you to say it, it would be nice to know
Yes.
that they're paying you to say it, and you're not just like, taking the money under the
That's
table.
why
and being
the
like-
two
Okay,
words
yeah.
full disclosure exist.
Now, the internet and Twitter is a real scummy place for that kind of behavior. And I don't think that's what's happening here.
agreed.
I agree.
'Cause
That-
again,
I agree.
it goes
But,
back
just
to
saying
me.
that's
but
we did.
people know that shit like that happens, and they're projecting that
Yeah.
onto people that.
And that's not fair.
I
The
don't.
people that we know who are doing this stuff are out there doing everything anyway.
Yeah, they're doing the 10 other speculative things that
Which
you're
they're
saying
telling
should
you
invest
about.
in. They're also investing in. So this is just one. And because it's sports and it's cool and like cards and opening packs and getting random players and getting maybe a special card is like very niche to the community they speak to daily.
Yeah, the sports betting
They put it
community,
out there.
absolutely.
These guys also came off of just missing $1 million bid on an Honus Wagner card. So this is just like, that's kind of like my whole point was like, what's the big deal? 4 effing whales went in together for $35K. If it shits the bed, Michael Thomas's 0 catches might have hurt a couple of these guys more today. Like that was sort of like my only premise. I don't know why there was such a vitriol kind of, and I guess it's just sort of like what we're unfamiliar with makes us uncomfortable and different.
And also,
And change.
$35,000 is far easier to understand than $1 million investment, right?
What do you mean?
It's like it's
Oh, you're like-
easier for the average person to understand a $35,000 investment versus $1 million. They'll never have $1 million. They never. The idea of making $1 million investment is impossible. But the idea of
They
a
were gonna buy the
$35,000
card. What do you
investment,
mean?
No,
they
what,
can
what,
touch
what do you,
that.
No,
Oh,
what-
a normal person can get to a
Yeah,
35.
when
The average
you
person
put
can
it
never
out-
get that kind of money. They can get $30,000 for
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Right, so they can relate to it.
If you have a
far
credit
more
line, if
easily than they-
if you've never had bad, if you have decent credit, you get the bank give you
Yeah,
30,000.
like this is something. Oh yeah, the
Exactly.
$1
You
million
can
dollars
reach
on
out
the
and
card.
touch.
Yeah.
You could plausibly
It is-
buy this thing for 30, and then people get into the situation like, well, if these guys bought it for 35, maybe I should buy it.
But they can't afford it.
This is
no,
what I
that's
mean.
the thing.
That's
And these
why
guys can
they,
miss the money.
yeah,
if
they
want.
can lose.
They don't want to lose the money, but
and I
they
don't mean
can
it like
lose the
that.
money.
But like sometimes a prop goes bad, a bet goes bad, in-game variance. Like they'll just chalk this up to
Patrick
another.
Mahomes over 1.5 touchdown passes against the Cleveland Browns. Bet the firm on it. It's minus 200. Yeah, I'm going to throw 200,000 to win 100,000. Oh, Patrick Mahomes got hurt and he left the game? No, you lost. Sorry. Shit happens.
I wish I like better understood what it is, but I never understand any of this.
Now, do you
until
think that,
it's like
and,
so far
and neither
down
do
the
I.
line.
And does that make us rubes because we don't understand it, or is this stuff actually just like speculative and it's hard to understand to begin with? Like, are we just stupid?
Well,
or
it's purposely. It's in some ways it's purposely hard to understand, right? I mean, the people who understand it want there to be a level of complexity so that not everyone
Yeah.
can get into the mix. Right?
I agree a bit
there's
of that.
There's a protection of one's nest that way. And that's true in a lot of industries. It's not just this. A ton of industries put up tons of obscure barriers or complications to keep people out from the trough. But you also live a real life and have real responsibilities and don't have time to commit to these things. And so, if the purpose of life is just to live happily and to maximize the happiness you bring to others and to yourself, then if you're doing that and you're not up on that stuff, then you may be ahead in the long run anyway.
Well, there was an article, I think, maybe it was on Medium, maybe it was published in the New York Times. Really don't remember anymore. I saw it trending on Twitter and I read it. It was like the death of Bitcoin or something like that. But the point wasn't that Bitcoin is worthless and you shouldn't buy Bitcoin. The point was Bitcoin is just merely a stock, or
It's now everything it was not supposed to be.
Well,
like
people,
was that? I've seen that
people
article
thought it was going to be
too.
like a democratizing currency to get rid of central banks. Maybe eventually, like that ends up happening. I don't know. But the way that it's being traded at the moment is the same way that people trade gold. It's like
100%.
digital gold.
Yes, that's exactly right.
But
It
that's the
is
same with
traded
these
just like a
cards.
common stock.
Yeah.
And the
It
people,
was, premised on the idea that something could be more important than central banks can print more money than God. Central banks just are so much bigger than Bitcoin could ever have been. Like it was a losing.
But
It was the
that's
Titan. It was the
not-
Titans. It was the Titans challenging the Olympian gods and being struck down for it. It was an unwinnable battle. The U.S. Fed can outspend anybody, no matter the amount. They can put up quadruple. Same with the European Central Bank. That's a battle you cannot win. Impossible.
Until you get to the point where you devalue your own currency so much that people actually do end up making that switch.
You can devalue your currency so much as to make their currency unattainable. Right?
You could deal with so much hyperinflation that Bitcoin would end up being the better investment than people would actually start using it.
But people's money wouldn't be worth anything. You couldn't get a hold of the Bitcoin. No one could buy it from you because no one would have the assets anymore because your currency's been so devalued. And no one could buy into it because, like in 1930s Germany, they don't have wheelbarrows big enough for the money to be in, to buy loaves of bread. Like the central banks can, put it this way, governments, central banks can deal with a lot more long-term pain and are far better at long-term planning than any other institution because they're going to be around forever and nothing else will be.
See, I don't necessarily agree with that. This goes back to the conversation that we had a little bit earlier about, your small C conservative type of actions. And there's always some disruptor that can come in and really change what people do. And it feels like Bitcoin is onto something with this. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be Bitcoin, but it does appear like I said, it just seems like it's more of a common stock now.
If central banks thought it was a threat, they'd crush it and there would be rules passed to make sure it was illegal to possess it. And that's all there would be to it. And no one would have it.
But I think there's enough of the
They
world.
can't take it away from you, TC.
What's that?
They
They
can't
can
take.
make, they can make,
They can't
they
take
can make
it.
possession of it illegal.
They
Of
can't
course, you
take.
can just pass a law.
Yeah, but people who already have it, they can't take it away. What are they going to do?
Sure, but if you can't get any more of it, then
They
it
can't.
becomes
They
just
can't
a.
find where it's even located in the blockchain because it's your own private key.
That is true, but believe me, the state has the power to do just about anything it wants to you.
How much Bitcoin do you own?
Oh, clearly
Zero.
not.
Zero.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
Paul-
believe me, he knows all about it.
Well, Paul.
No, I
Paul-
don't know all about.
Paul-
What I do know all about, but what I know all about is the state and power, and it
Yeah,
is
it's scary because all we've been doing for the last year is just printing money. That's how you end up in Great Depression. I kind of think
It's-
of it as a play against inflation, which is coming. That's kind of how I'm.
But
why
that's
I'm
like a-
investing
but
in it.
I would have said I would have agreed 5 years ago, but
Yeah,
my
but you got to think
principles
about what happened in the last
My
last
principles
9
on
months.
inflation
They have
have been
printed
radically
more
changed.
money than at any other time in human
and the
existence.
inflation rate didn't go up. That's what shocked me.
Because
that's what
they're-
shocked a lot of economists.
I don't know
that the
what-
inflation rate.
What do you
didn't
mean?
Go up.
That's because
It
they're
should've.
they're lying on their numbers. When you have the central
Well,
bank
there's a
controlling
lot
that,
of-
how can you print all of this money? And
It's a very
and
good question.
we just haven't seen the cost of it because they know that the general population isn't ready to see that inflation. It's coming, man. Just think about what just happened in the States. They just passed with that the new Biden deal that they're going to move up to $15 an hour wages. Everyone's like, yay, $15 an hour wages. You know what that actually means is that the cost of every little thing that you're gonna need is going up. So it's masked in a $15 minimum wage when in actuality, life's probably going to be the same. It's just the cost, the valuation of that dollar is less.
I agree with most of what you said there,
So,
but
But Paul-
a lot of us are surprised at things.
but Paul, as the person who owns in my day-to-day life the most Bitcoin that I know, do you ever expect to use it as a part of a transaction, like to buy something?
I kind of think of it as like an extra bank account that's off the system and is just mine.
Sure, but wouldn't that almost just be like having your money in the NASDAQ or something? But you just
yeah,
have an investment.
how is
in
that different than owning? How is it different than owning stock in
Yeah.
Coca-Cola or General Motors?
I mean, you can use it to purchase things.
Sure, but why would anyone do that right now?
I'm holding it in the hopes that this is what becomes, instead of gold, like, for instance, gold, you say that you buy gold. They tell you they buy gold. They still find gold in the ground and they add to this. At least with Bitcoin, the general idea is that there's only 21 million Bitcoin out there, and it gets released into the general public at a standard rate. It's scarce. You can never create more once the last Bitcoin is mined. It's only going to be people trading in between each other. You can't create more of it. It stops. It stops at 21 million. That's it. It's tough to describe.
Aren't
to
there
people.
like farmers though, like Bitcoin farmers?
I thought people were mining Bitcoin. I'm very confused about this entire.
That's
thing.
also probably going to be made illegal based
What-
on the
what will?
environmental
Where
damage.
where
that it caused.
though?
Because of the amount of power and energy.
Yeah, but
and
where is it going to be made
effect it
illegal?
can have on the climate?
On
I
the
would not be
internet,
surprised
Pat.
if there
No, but
There
where
are
do you
various
so
laws.
the U.S. makes
They
it
won't
illegal?
stop.
Great, we'll do it in fucking Romania.
They're already doing it in like Arctic Russia right now. They're setting up places. So if they want to do that thing, like they're gonna get
Well,
rid.
I'm
They're
sure
gonna
that
get.
that's true.
They're gonna get through the rest of that Bitcoin. It'll be done, and then it's whether maybe it takes off, maybe it doesn't. I mean, there's bigger investors moving into it this
Sure.
time than 2017. That cannot be ignored.
Fair enough, but like that line in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. That there's a profound truth to that.
Well, Tim does agree that anything that was basically written, as long as you can think back, Jeff, if it was written then, it has to be true.
No, but
And
there's some things are time.
If there's an
Some things are
improvement,
fine.
there's no point in going for it because like the way it's currently being done
Is obviously the best.
is
way.
good and
Which again
charming.
is not-
It's charming.
I
It's
already
it's
rebutted
charming.
that.
It's charming
Some
to see the
things-
refs
some things aren't
spot
worth-
the ball
some things-
wrong. It's
You
charming.
use the piece of paper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Use the cue
Some
card to
things
fucking
don't need to be changed. Some things do. I got no problem with the spotting of the ball by a person.
People were also
think
mad
that's-
at Tim on the internet. I don't totally disagree with him. I don't know how I feel about it. With
touchback rule?
Yeah, the touchback rule. I have no opinion. I don't know.
I don't like it, but I don't know what the alternative is.
Yeah, I
at the
mean,
same
either.
time.
What are you supposed
So
to do?
From people not understanding that the goal line is a goal end zone is a special part of the field that has special rules attached to it.
Special
it's not like
powers.
fumbling anywhere else. Yeah, because the end of plays affects points, and there's a reason it's not even marked off. Like it's a special zone of the field. So yeah, special rules apply, and there's a million rules in the NFL these days that advantage the offense. There's this one big rule that advantages the defense. So what? Don't fumble out of the end. Don't fumble out of the end of the end zone. I'm not sympathetic to it.
I'm not against you losing possession of the ball. I just don't like that the other team gets it at the 20.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe make it like
I mean,
get
people
it at the 5 or something.
people that don't like it, like, what's their case? Like, you can fumble the ball out of bounds the entire field. But I guess to Tim's point, that's an advantage of the offense.
Yeah, you can also
the entire
you
way
can
up.
also cross the 37-yard line. You don't get 6 points.
You can like the whole way up the
Yeah,
field.
see,
If you make this mistake, you get the ball back so long as the other team
Correct.
doesn't get it. But at this demarcation point that we have determined extra special, you screw up here, you will pay the piper. I don't know how to change it. I don't know how to change it. I don't hate it.
It's one of these things that
I
I
thought
don't
Tim
think
took unfair
needs to be
hate.
changed.
I thought Tim took unfair hate.
I
for
think
it.
if someone could come up with a reasonable alternative to what should happen, and it made a lot of sense, I'd be good with changing the rule. But as I hate this rule, it sucks, and you present no alternative to it, then keep the rule as it is.
So, like, the people that, like, they just want you to get the ball at the 1 yard line.
I guess.
Like,
so.
what is
I think the big thing is just where if the other team doesn't recover it, it just goes through the end zone. The team that fumbled it loses the down and gets the ball back where they were. I guess
at the 1 yard line.
yeah, or wherever they fumble, because you can fumble it from like the 2, but you can't advance a fumble. You
Then
get the
there's
ball
no
back at 2.
consequences for ever reaching for the end zone.
Agreed.
You should always reach then. And that we don't want that. I don't want that. I want it to, like, you reach for the end zone, you better be darn sure you're going to cross, because calamity ensues. It should not be super easy and risk-free to reach for the end zone. You should have to pay a price.
Okay. We got anything else? I'm probably going to cut this into 2 shows at this point. Give me a
No,
show.
I'm good.
Give me a show for Thursday. You had nothing else written down?
Not really. No, we covered over what I really wanted to talk about, that electronic card, and we did.
You raised your hand halfway.
I guess I think I just had a question for Tim.
Okay.
But I forget.
Forget it.
I'm just seeing something on the internet that the NFLPA wrote as players that, like, they're not getting vaccines anytime soon. So expect for an off season much like last year. And they've canceled the combine, and who knows?
You wait. They're going to develop a robot.
A what?
A robot. An artificial
Robot.
intelligence. Paul was talking about this earlier. Just like in some places you have like the drive-through COVID test. There's going to have like a big swinging wheel with syringes on the end. You just drive through, get your vaccine, and just go on. Vaccinate everyone right away. That's going to be the move here soon.
Unfortunately, the government's doing it, so that won't be the move.
Yeah, got to
It's going to take a long
Got to really
time.
spread this out for as long as possible.
Just stab people in the arm in the
An
car.
Uber driver,
Get on your
Uber
way.
Eats driver just tried to pick up my friend's wife.
Like for a ride or like for sexual favors?
Like, I guess because you can, like, send messages after, and I guess he liked what he saw at the door.
I like it. Would you take that as a compliment if someone did that to your wife, or would you try to like find the guy?
Yeah, sure. Take her.
She just got you a nice.
That's a joke.
She got you a nice Valentine's Day gift, as we learned at the end of the golf show.
Yeah. Oh, great. She called me to let me know she's spending money on things no one in the house needs.
Did you ever find out what it was?
It's like plates and cutlery, Pat.
Well, that's nice.
Well,
It
Tim,
is.
well, why would you think that's nice and something to spend money on? This is from a guy who has one plate, one set of utensils, and uses paper plates.
And you sent him a trough of plastic things. He was thrilled.
Oh yeah, that was great. But if you're in 3 years' time when you're allowed to entertain again for a dinner party, it's nice to have some nice stuff. I'm sure.
Paul, you were going to say something?
Joe Exotic's getting pardoned, apparently, and that's his stretch limo.
That Trump pardoned Joe Exotic?
Well, he wouldn't be there.
Oh,
Otherwise-
you know
But
what?
if it wasn't for that bitch Carol Baskin.
Yeah, if that bitch Carol Baskin better watch her back. Probably shouldn't joke about that because he's like an insane person, a la Tim.
he can't get up here during COVID times. With a
No,
with
not
a-
him. I
with
meant
a
about
record.
Carol Baskin. Like Joe Exotic's probably going. Although he's like a star now. What does he do if he's pardoned and he's like out in the world?
Oh,
Is he like? Is he like finally like the celebrity he always wanted to be now?
I guess he can make appearances.
Can we get him on Mayo Media Network? Can we get him a
I
show
wanna
with
see
Cam?
him on like Fear Factor.
By the way, if people didn't know, Cam is every Friday with Meanie on the hockey show. Tune in and watch Cam because Cam was fire. Not with the
Always.
picks, but just being Cam on Friday. He was comparing Tim. He was comparing cheap DFS DraftKings plays on the Friday night hockey slate to different pieces of meat that go on discount at the superstore.
Cam is the best.
And you know what? They were all great deals.
He is the best. I was reminiscing about Cam today.
With
They-
friends.
Yeah, things off air. It's
All
like
right.
once upon a time he showed up at a few like personal engagements.
And was he the hit of the party?
He's always a hit.
Was it
He's
him or was it Morency who thought that Toronto's downtown life was destroyed now that Wayne Gretzky's is open?
Morency. Cam would never go to like Gretzky's.
No.
To like
No, I
Bay
don't,
Street bootlickers go there.
but they
like,
don't
before the
even though.
game.
That's not like Gretzky's wasn't a popular spot. There's a reason like it stopped doing good business.
Yeah, it's like down the street from the stadium, and only people actually liked it.
No, like that. It was just like the one that's across the street from like
Real sports.
Real Sports. Yeah, like Real Sports. The concept of Real Sports is great. Going to Real Sports is it's a travesty. Except for when DraftKings ran the Fantasy Hockey World Championships out of it, and they bought the entire like floor. Then it was actually pretty good. You could use the golf simulator. You didn't just bump into people 24/7. We're trying to go to that place like before the game. It's across the street from the arena. It's like the Toothy Moose or whatever the fuck that's called on Front
Loose
Street.
Moose.
The Loose Moose. Like it's just like a dive bar.
Loose Moose is all right.
It's okay.
So
It's no
You're
different.
saying that like Shoeless Joe's and Wayne Gretzky's wasn't the beating heart of Toronto downtown life, like I was led to believe.
No, it was not. Those were just the places that Morency went to, I think. Those are the two places he had. They were, honest to God, they are the two places that were closest to the place that he used to work.
Yeah. That's really it. That had enough TVs to put on all the games he wanted. Because there were other places where those places only had like one TV and they just show the Leaf game.
Yeah, that's why Gabby's wasn't mentioned on that list,
exactly.
which is coincidentally across the street from this studio right now. Anyway, that will do it on the Pat Mayo experience. Paul, who you got? Is Conor McGregor going to win in less than a minute?
He's looking in great shape. Less than a minute. I'll give Dustin Poirier a little bit more respect than that, but
Tim, who you got?
Conor McGregor's gonna win by knockout.
You got Conor or do you got Dustin Poirier?
I think Poirier will not be knocked out. It may be a technical knockout. That's not quite the same thing.
Where is the fight?
Or a submission, but I don't think it'll be a knockout.
Did you see their first fight?
Does Conor submit people?
Connor knocked this guy out at featherweight about 5 years ago in the first round, like one shot.
What was the fight division that you and Cody knew all about during COVID that was like incredibly sketch?
Oh, Cage Warriors?
Oh, that's like not
That's
even.
it.
That's not even
Cage
close.
Warriors.
That's not
even-
sketchy at all. That's just like British,
That's
isn't it?
British. Yeah, it's the British regional scene. There is
Oh, okay, fair
much
enough.
sketchier. I mean,
Cody
That
does-
was like the Outlaw Tour, but for MMA.
No, like
No, this is
Substance
like the-
Cage Combat 2.0 is like the Outlaw Tour.
We won a lot of money on that Cage Warriors card, by the way.
Yeah. Mason Jones fights this week, or fights
Yeah, the guy from
tomorrow
that
morning.
card is fighting in the UFC on Wednesday, Tim.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Anyway, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Want to thank Jeff for being here in studio. He'll be back on Monday to break down the Farmers Insurance Open. Is Tiger playing? Tiger's playing, right?
It's crazy. Next week's Torrey Pines. Kind of feels like golf starts.
Yeah.
Like actually.
No football, golf's going. So tune into the golf show next week. Want to thank Paul behind the camera. Check him out on the Dogger Pass podcast for UFC 250 I don't know, 7, I want to say. Conor McGregor is fighting. So if you want to bet on that card, you tune into the Dogger Pass. I'll be back with Mad Lab and Brett Appley later in the week for DraftKings picks on that. Plus, they'll have solo videos up on Mayo Media Network. So if you want to get into the UFC, there's a great spot to be, plus the hockey show. And I suppose, as always, I should thank The Coin and his friend, Tim Andergust.
Tim Andergust.
That's not my name.
Is The Coin your friend?
It is not my friend. I'm glad that after the Super Bowl, he and I don't have to see each other again for several months.
Maybe we should set up some sort of competition where you face The Coin in things.
Sure.
Like you're bad at Mario Party. Maybe The Coin could beat you at Mario Party.
I'm not that bad at Mario Party.
You're the only person I've ever seen refuse to buy a star because you thought it was a trick.
I thought the best was when I decided to have a coin party when you had it all won.
For no reason. I still won anyway. It was okay. Yeah,
We were
but
very upset.
Tim went to go. He finally got to a star. Tim doesn't win any of the mini games. He finally gets to the star, has enough coins for once to buy it, and clicks, no, I would not like to buy a star. I don't trust Toad.
Happened.
Why didn't you trust him?
I thought it was a trick.
Why do you think Mario Party was trying to trick you?
I don't know, but the no option was there for a reason, so I figured it's the way to go on that one.
Poor choice from old Tim. Thank you all for watching. Remember to continue to subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience. Like the episode, rate and review on the iTunes, on the everythings. You got to put the in front of it in case you're like over 50 or you're Tim, so you know what I'm talking about over here. And check out all the other shows. Just continue to support. And golf's going too, so me and Jeff are back every Monday. We'll see you next time.
Fat Mayo Experience! Experience!